And welcome everyone to Beyond the Forecast. I am Chief Meteorologist Michael Stevens, and it is Friday, which means it is Viewer Question Friday, but also it's the end of the work week. So today we're actually going to be focusing on a few things. It's the start of the National Cherry Festival. So let's take a look at the climate for cherries. Meteorologist Haley Fischetti dives into the reason cherries love northern Michigan so much. She goes over the dynamics of our climate, which helps create the amazing cherries that we know and love here in northern Michigan. And then we send it over to meteorologist John Gross because this week is actually National Lightning Awareness Week. So he is going to break lightning down, what you need to know about lightning and how to stay safe from lightning, but also the fun facts about lightning and how to stay safe through lightning. So then at the end of the show, we're going to have Viewer Question Friday. And we've been having a lot of questions about sunrise and sunset, the different colors that you get when it comes to your sunrise and sunsets in the morning. Why is it red? Why is it pink? Why is the sky blue? We have those questions answered for you coming up in Viewer Question Friday. But before we get to all those segments, let's dive into the fun parts of our show, shall we? First up, this day in weather history. So June 27th, 1901, it was reported that a rain shower wasn't just rain, but it was also fish. Yeah, so believe it or not, fish fell from the sky with the rain at Tiller's Ferry in South Carolina. Now, this isn't common by any means. It is rare, but it does happen on occasion. And usually the reason that it happens is because of waterspouts. So waterspouts forming over a body of water will scoop up fish, and then once it moves on land or wherever the fish are up in the air, it starts raining those fish. So pretty wild this day in weather history. But they actually said in the report that hundreds of fish rained down, and in fact there were fish swimming in between cotton rows in South Carolina. Pretty wild. All right, yesterday, trivia time. We wanted to know what layer of atmosphere is closest to the surface, and we told you all about the atmosphere yesterday. Is it the stratosphere, mesosphere, troposphere, or the crust? Well, it is actually the troposphere. So the troposphere is the closest layer of the atmosphere to us here at the surface. All right, today's trivia question. We want to know, what is it called when water vapor condenses close to the ground? Is it fog, haze, rain, or droplets? QR code right there. Hit it with your phone. It'll take you where you can answer. And if you don't know the answer, don't worry. We'll have it for you on Monday on Beyond the Forecast. All right, weather word of the day. It's a new thing that we started this week. And to close out the week, we have Coriolis force. I usually call it the Coriolis effect, but Coriolis force. So Coriolis force is a pseudo force, but it's all created by the rotation of the Earth. So it's basically plays with objects that aren't firmly attached to the ground as they move around the Earth. So picture, if you will, wind. So as the Earth's rotating, the wind deflects, whether the southern hemisphere or northern hemisphere, and the reason that is because of the Coriolis effect. As the Earth rotates, it deflects the wind. So imagine, if you will, again, shooting a cannonball. And if you shot a cannonball way up in the sky, miles and miles and miles and miles south, it would actually go the way against the force, or with the force, excuse me. And that's the Coriolis effect, which essentially is caused by the rotation of the Earth. So there you go. Weather word of the day, Coriolis force. All right, viewer photo of the day, brought to you as always by Great Rooms. Today's picture comes to us from Lindsay Manow. She sent us in this beautiful shot, or it's Minot, sorry, I think it's Minot. She sent us a beautiful shot of a loon on Lake Ann. Look at that, beautiful shot. Lindsay, thank you so much for sending in this beautiful photo of a loon on Lake Ann. And as always, thank you to Great Rooms for sponsoring this segment. All right, let's send it over to meteorologist Haley Fischetti, shall we? She's going to give us the climate breakdown on cherries, why northern Michigan is so great for cherries, and also why the cherries just love it here compared to other spots of Michigan. We'll have those details coming up for you right after the break.
Welcome back to Beyond the Forecast. It's meteorologist Haley Fischetti, and National Cherry Festival is upon us. And We always talk about the cherries in this region and how important they are, especially here in Traverse City. But what makes cherries so popular, and why is Northern Michigan a great place for those cherries to grow? Did a little research as we continue to go into National Cherry Festival Week, and here's some information. What really helps is our seasons. We always talk about the 4 seasons here in Northern Michigan and how each of them are perfect in their own ways, and the cold winters really help us. That helps us keep the trees at rest while they are hibernating in the winter. It doesn't overstress the trees at all. Our temperatures, while sometimes we might complain about them, that cold, the coolness that we have really helps the trees lay dormant for long periods of time. So when we do get warm, it allows for our trees to ripen very fast. It gives us the energy, the trees the energy to grow and produce all of those cherries. And as we continue into the winter, then the spring and summer months, our mild summers actually help. Now, we don't see super, super hot temperatures all summer long. That could cause stress to those trees. But what we do see is those mild temperatures, looking at more 70s and 80s across northern Michigan. And that's the perfect temperature that really helps and maintains the growth for cherry trees as you head into the summer months. When you start to see really, really warm temperatures in other climates across America, it doesn't help the trees grow. It stresses them out and they die fast. Kind of sometimes what you see at those fall leaves when we look into autumn. But when we have a perfect summer where it stays really the same, the 70s and 80s, allowing for those trees to stay and ripen for the season. Now, some other things that contribute to really good growing seasons here in northern Michigan for cherries is that our soil, it's actually just the makeup of our land. That's what really helps their conditions. Our soil is really rich in nutrients for cherry trees to grow. It's really nice out there. And that's why you can see a lot of those cherries grow, especially here in northern Michigan when we're talking about Old Mission Peninsula, looking over towards areas in the Upper Peninsula as well. We have a lot of that sandy and clay-like soil. The clay is really good because it can hold moisture for long periods of time, allowing for trees, so say if you're in a drought, to keep that moisture for a little bit longer. Another thing is those sandy conditions. We're, of course, close to the lakes, and the sandy soil is really close, of course, to the shorelines. That's filled of nutrients that help fuel the cherries grow into the ripened season for the summer. Being close to the lakes also is a big reason on why we have an amazing grow season. It's kind of like our own ecosystem. We talk about all the time how important the lakes are to Michigan's climate and to our plants, and cherry trees are just another reason. It kind of dictates what kind of weather you're going to see. The lakes can hold on to warmth a little bit longer as we start to cool down in the fall, allowing for the trees to stay ripen for a little bit longer as well. And then on top of that, we have those colder temperatures in the winter, allowing for the trees to stay dormant and for the waters to stay warm. As you head into the summer months, we don't rise really fast. While temperatures might rise really fast, our waters stay cold, allowing for a gradual growth when it comes to the trees, which then, of course, increase our growing season here in northern Michigan. But that's just some of the facts. Now, into National Cherry Festival Week, I will talk about what kind of weather we see in the future and how climate change is actually going to be impacting our growing season as well. But we'll have all those details over on Beyond the Forecast.
Thanks, Haley. Now, coming up next, we're going to send it over to meteorologist John Gross, who's going to break down lightning for us, as it is National Lightning Awareness Week. We'll have those details right after the break.
Hey there, everybody. Meteorologist John Gross. Welcome back to Beyond the Forecast. Today, we're going to focus in a little bit more on lightning, how it develops, where you should be versus where you shouldn't be when we're talking about thunderstorms, lightning, things of that nature. If you've been keeping up with the latest news stories, 20 people at a South Carolina beach were struck by one single lightning bolt. Now, the good news is everybody from there did survive. That did include several children, but there was no parent thunderstorm in the vicinity of that area. Lightning struck miles away from the actual parent thunderstorm. And those lightning strikes can be the most deadly when we're talking about lightning. Now, we bring this to your attention even more because for this year, 2025, it is Lightning Safety Awareness Week. So we want you to be informed about lightning, how dangerous it is, how hot it is, where it can strike, where you should be, where should you not be, things of that nature. And we're also going to talk about, well, how it develops. So let's go into the atmosphere. Your warm air, it rises. Remember, it's more buoyant, so it wants to freely move up throughout the atmosphere. We're building what we call our cumulonimbus cloud. So now we're starting to get into what we call the mature stage of the thunderstorm. If you remember those 3 stages, when we're starting to build, when we're at our mature stage, and then the dissipating stage. So right now we're really starting to build up our thunderstorm, our cumulonimbus cloud, and the taller it moves throughout the atmosphere, remember, that's also helping to create hail or develop hail as you're starting to get into the colder levels of the atmosphere. So ice particles, your water droplets, those are starting to collide, and now we're starting to see those charges starting to take form, develop, and also starting to separate. So those collisions, they're starting to cause the different charges that we can see, positive charges and negative charges. Now, as we go forward, usually as our thunderstorm starts to develop, typically at the top of the cloud base, you're talking about more of those positive charges. Right at the cloud base going towards the surface, you're talking about those negative charges. And then usually your ground has more positive charges. So that's the setup that you're talking about. And once you get enough energy to have what we call a discharge between the positive and the negative charges, that's when we get lightning. Now you can have cloud-to-cloud lightning, and you can also have cloud-to-ground lightning. That's where you see that really intense flash of lightning. Now, the diameter of the lightning strike, on average, it's no bigger than a broomstick, but the temperature of the lightning strike itself, very, very hot. When I say hot, we're talking hotter than the surface of the sun. So not only do you have cloud-to-cloud lightning, cloud-to-ground lightning, but here's our anvil. And if you're not familiar with what the anvil is, when you're talking about the top of the thunderstorm, we have what's called an overshooting top, and then eventually clouds start to build away from the updraft or the parent thunderstorm itself, and this is what we call the anvil. Now, that can extend miles away from the parent thunderstorm, and if you have enough charge separation within that anvil, that's how you can get a lightning strike still to occur away from your parent thunderstorm. And that's exactly what those 20 people experienced on that South Carolina beach from when this was recorded just a few days back. And that, unfortunately, can be the most deadly type of lightning strike that we do see. So, lightning facts for you. Like I just mentioned, it can strike miles away from the parent thunderstorm. So, it's a classic. It's one that's used time and time again from several meteorologists, but it works. When thunder roars, go indoors. That's a big reason why whenever we have any thunderstorm chances with anything sport-related outside, swimming, baseball, golf, we have to wait at least a half hour, usually, before we can go back outside and start resuming whatever we were doing. Because this is the big reason why. Even though it might not be an active thunderstorm in the vicinity of where you're at, miles away from the actual parent thunderstorm, you can still get lightning. So when you hear thunder, that means you're close enough to the storm to where you also can experience lightning. So that's a big reason why we do what we do there. And just a, fun fact, we'll call it, lightning, like I mentioned, very, very hot. It's hotter than the surface of the sun. So when we think of it being hot outside, 80, 90 degrees, especially here in northern Michigan, try 50,000 degrees. Pretty hot. So take lightning very, very serious. Nothing to mess around with. And like we've said before, when thunder roars, go indoors. I'm meteorologist John Gross reporting for Beyond the Forecast.
Thanks, John. Now, coming up next, we're going to have Viewer Question Friday, where we answer sunset and sunrise colors, what they mean and why they happen. We'll have that right after the break. And welcome back, everyone, to Beyond the Forecast. Now, at the top of the show, we told you about Viewer Question Friday, where you ask questions, and we either bring back some of the videos or pieces that we shot, or shoot new ones, answering the questions that you asked. And someone asked recently, sunrise, sunset, the colors we see, what do they mean? Well, it all depends on what particles are in the atmosphere and mixing with those rays. Because if there's smoke, you get different colors. If there's air quality differences, you get different colors. If the sky is blue, you get different colors. It's all associated with what's up in the atmosphere, which we told you about yesterday. So let's deep dive into why you see different colors. Check it out. Another quick little video that I'm going to talk to you about sun, as well as sunset, sunrise, and the colors that the sun puts out there, because it is very beautiful. But this weekend we are going to have a whole lot of sunshine, and if you're out camping or out and about and you happen to catch a sunrise or sunset, it may not look the same for everyone, and that's because of different qualities of air. Because we are going to be seeing a little bit of smoke haze across northern Michigan through this weekend, and that makes a tremendous difference in the colors you'll see at sunrise or sunset. And that's all part of weather and science and rays, light rays. So what happens when you look at the sun when it's above us, then you have naturally blue skies? Well, first off, the whole reason we see blue skies in general is because the sun's beam goes through air molecules. Now, when the sun's beam goes through that air molecule, it scatters light evenly. All spectrums of light, all the colors, they are scattered evenly. So when the sun is above us, it shows mainly blue, and that's why you see blue skies. Now, once the sun starts going more atmosphere, less sky that we're seeing, that's when you start taking the blue light out of the equation and you start adding more of the red, orange, pink tones. So the longer the beam has to go through the atmosphere, it hits those air molecules, and then you start seeing more of the other colors than blue. So on sunrise and sunset, yes, you get different colors there, and that's because those beams are going through more or bigger portions of the atmosphere. So now what do you see when you add in pollutants or smoke haze? Well, the reason for that is because air molecules, just normal regular air molecules, are smaller than the more dense, bigger dust or pollution molecules like smoke haze. So once a beam of light goes through that smoke haze or that pollutant, that bigger molecule, the light is not reflected nearly as much as a normal air molecule. So it kind of traps that light a little bit, hence the darker colors. So when you take a look at a normal sunset on a beautiful clear sky night, the sun actually starts appearing brighter orange, and you have beautiful colors on the sunset because of the beams going through more of the atmosphere and then spreading different colors throughout the air molecules. Now, when you see it with smoke haze or pollutant, yeah, it's darker. It seems more red, more ominous, because that is where the sunbeam is going into that molecule, getting more trapped, creating a darker color. So that is what you get when you talk about sun, the rays and air molecules giving us the colors that we see, whether it's in the sky, on a sunrise, sunset, or even at noon. It's all different when you look from east to west, or if there's pollutants in the air. Crazy to think of, right? That small air molecule, larger, more polluted air molecule will give you different colors based on a beam of sunlight and giving you darker colors or beautiful colors. It's all kind of crazy to think about, but that's all weather related and science related. So this weekend, when you're out and about across northern Michigan with our clear skies, whether you're camping or you might be on a boat or you're sitting on the back porch and you notice, hey, check out that sunrise or sunset. Look at those amazing colors. Oh, look how dark it is. That is the reason that you're going to be experiencing that across northern Michigan. And next week, well, it is the National Cherry Festival. So we're going to be super busy around here, but we'll still have Beyond the Forecast. So thank you for joining us today, but also this week. We appreciate you. For meteorologist John Gross and also meteorologist Haley Fichetti. I am Chief Meteorologist Michael Stevens. Be good, stay safe, have fun this weekend, and we'll catch you right back here on Monday for more Beyond the Forecast at 4:30 in the afternoon. Bye, everybody.